magnificent morning, wonderful afternoon, and awesome evening. This is Carla from MindPlore with Carla and Friends. I needed to get my show straight. And today I only have one person to talk to, but that's okay. That works. I had an experience today. We're talking about going with the flow or resisting the flow today. I put it in different words when I wrote it in the caption, but it's about doing that. I have had people say I'm coming to the show and they don't show up, or they come to the show and they do something a little silly and we disagree with each other and I have to maybe scold someone. And I do it because there's an expectation that I put on the people who come to this show. They're usually very wise, intelligent people who tell me they are coaches in other places. And I had to talk sternly to someone because when I put that responsibility on someone, I have that expectation that they're going to be there. Now, I admit I'm not perfect. I can be late sometimes. I can, I make my mistakes too. But people coming to the show need to learn that I need you there on time. There's a reason. It's to bring people together. It's helping people feel comfortable with each other. And making a decision or telling me that you can't come like 2 or 3 minutes before the show is going live, it's difficult on me because I expect them to be there. Simple as that. Well, we had an issue about that today, and it's okay because we're still going to do the show and we're still going to make it enjoyable, hopefully, and we're still going to move forward. Making a choice 2 minutes beforehand is irresponsibility. This show is to help open our minds. It helps me open my mind. Sometimes I don't go with the flow so well. Sometimes I do. It's a matter of growing into that thing. And because of that, this topic is such a great topic for today. Because I have to go with the flow, whether there's 3, 5, 6, one person with me, we'll go with the flow and we'll make it happen. And for the moment, I need Shivali to speak. So I have a little time to just get some things out there. So I will join the conversation, but I'll also be listening. Sort of what I'm doing when the show is starting. So Shivali, what do you have to say about going with the flow?
Thank you, Carla. And hi, everybody who's watching us. Well, it happens with me each time I want to participate in this show and I'm invited. And the topic which is given, the whole day I don't think about it. But when the evening sets in and I'm back from work and I have to be here, say around 10 o'clock India time, that is the time I start worrying. Actually, I start worrying. Oh, what am I going to say? Am I supposed to begin with a quote? Am I supposed to say this or that? And then I have always realized that, okay, let me go with the flow. Let me just go with the flow. And today's topic is exactly that. Go with the flow. So here I am, Carla. I'm going with the flow.
I'm sorry, Neville. You really are going with the flow. Turn your camera.
I'm definitely going with the flow. I just saw a comment on Facebook and I thought, no. Not Carla can't be on her own with just one guest. So here I am.
Thank you so much, but we want to turn your camera. You're sideways.
Oh, sorry about that. Well,
this is so very, very wonderful because the show, when we first started it, it was going with the flow. Whoever showed up, showed up. There were few times where I did the show alone in the beginning and I really didn't like it, but I did it anyway. But today I didn't expect you. I expected someone else, and you know, Neville, I'm always thrilled to have you. So we're no longer just me and Shivali. We have Neville, and we're going with the flow. So Neville, introduce yourself in case people forgot who you were after so long.
well, hello, Shivali. We've never met. I've seen you on several
Hi.
videos. And for everyone that's watching, I'm Neville. So if you want to find out about me, then have a look, have a see. You know, so we're going to go with the flow. But, and yes, Shivali, as you well know, or you might know, it's very rare for me to be here on a Tuesday. It's actually rare for me to be here at any time currently, but a Tuesday is particularly difficult. But I couldn't let it go by with, you know, people that I'm going to talk about commitment, because if people commit, they should. Commitment is not a dimmer switch. It's an on-off switch. And I keep telling all the students that I talk to around the world that it is an on-off switch. You're either 100% committed or don't bother turning up for whatever you do. Because if you're not 100% committed, then who knows what commitment there is. You know, you can't be, it's a bit like saying, oh, I'm 150% in this. There is no such thing as 150%. You're either 100% or you're something less. But when it comes to commitment, it does irk me when people say, yeah, okay then. What does okay then mean? Does it mean if I feel like it at the time, it'll be okay? Or does it feel like it now that it will be okay? And I think this is where the global scene is, you know, people book to go on a course because it's free. And then they just don't turn up. You're either going to look in detail about that course and say, oh, that's for me. That's definitely for me. I'm going to put it in the calendar. I'm going to remind myself the day before, because I know that these people will remind me on the day, and I'm going to make sure that I'm completely available because this is for me. If it isn't, then why book it? I just think it's crazy, frankly. And this is I think this is the society that we're growing up with these days, in that people are just not committed. And if we just saw a level of commitment which one would expect out of respect, then I think actually the world would be a much, much happier place. But there you go. That's my 2 cents. Over to you.
You know, that's so true. And when you were talking about courses and committing to it, I commit to some seminars that I don't go to, but I thought maybe I'd be interested in going. But when you commit to this show, or you commit to something like this, and you have a responsibility, you need to come. You need to do your part. And I also, as the leader here, need to tell people, hey, you knew you needed to be there. Why are you connecting 2 minutes before the show starts? It's not fair. It's not right. But, and I could have said, okay, let's cancel today and forget all about it. I don't want to do that. I know there are heavy rains in South Asia, and sometimes you can't make it because of that. But you let me know 10 minutes before you're supposed to be here. If you're not going to make it somewhere, let the people know before. Don't just not show up. And I'm really sensitive to that right now because I'm dealing with a lot of people who are saying, oh, I'm sorry, I can't show up today. And I'm like, but you made that commitment. You made a commitment to me. I'll give you 2 tries. You do it again on the 3rd time, forget it. Don't tell me you're going to do something if you're not going to do it. Shivali.
I completely agree with both Neville and you because I strongly believe in this word commitment. And it starts for that commitment to myself. If I'm committed to myself 100%, I understand, the meaning of being committed to others. So I really love this thing which Neville has put in. And here I would like to say that, in this past few weeks, I was unable to come on this show because the same thing was there. I was not keeping well. And each time Carla was inviting me, I used to ask myself 1,001 times, are you 100% in that state of mind and health that you can be on the show? Because once you say yes, at any cost, you are going to be there. So yes, commitment is needed. And the topic of today for today is going with the flow. So yes, challenges do come in our lives. All days are not going to be the same. But if we are committed to something, somehow I believe that with the grace of God, things happen and they go very smoothly. Provided you are committed, you are sincere, and the universe responds to it accordingly. So both these things go hand in hand. This is what I feel.
I love it, Shivali, when you said you're committing yourself. So this is about self-respect in many respects, because if you cannot commit to yourself, actually, who can you commit to? So that, in some respects, that's going with the flow too, because going with the flow to me almost rings true about common sense. Because if the flow is moving in the right direction or in a direction that looks good, you'll go with it. So in many respects, to me, that's common sense. But if the flow is going in a reverse direction from where you are saying or you believe it should be going, then you're a fool to yourself if you don't stand up and say, excuse me, I think we're going in the wrong direction here. So you don't go with the flow. And it's equally important that you go with it or you stand up against it, in my view. But each of them, hate to say it, comes back to common sense. The phrase that a lot of people don't understand because common sense isn't common practice. But there you go.
Yeah. Neville, this reminds me of when you say common sense, etc. That means we need to have that presence of mind to observe what's happening, as you rightly pointed out, to observe what's happening. So if, say, the river is flowing in a particular direction, I would be a fool to, kind of go in the opposite direction, because I have to observe what's happening. For that, I need to have that intelligence, that presence of mind to be the observer. Then things become much easier to go with the flow. This is how I look at it now.
Absolutely. And you in essence, what you're talking about is awareness. The more aware you are of what's happening around you, the more you'll go with it, or you'll fight against it. So, if the river, as you say, if the river is flowing fast in a particular direction, you would be stupid to jump in and try and swim against it. But you wouldn't be stupid if you jumped in a boat that had a very fast motor that you wanted to go in the other direction. So again, this is just about being aware of what the situation is and then adjusting your behavior accordingly. Makes sense, Carla?
I respond.
Absolutely. Yes. I will be back in a moment. I'm just getting something for you guys. But being in the flow, I mean, right now, what I'm going through or what's happening, it's teaching me to be in the flow because I had to go on. I could have said, no, I'm not going. And one of the things Rehan used to say to me, and today I really get it, is that it's really important to be committed to what you do. My family is a very committed family. You make a decision, you stay with it. Even if you don't like it, you stay with it. My father was an orthodontist. The kids had to work in the office 1 year. I had to do it. I wanted to quit the first day there, but I had to do it because that was part of the family thing. I became a special ed teacher. And even during my worst year, my last year, when I had a principal who couldn't stand me, and I couldn't stand him either, long story, I still had to go into work unless I was really sick. I did get sick a lot that year, really sick. But I went into work. I did my job. And we make decisions. You make a decision and you do it. You may have a disagreement with someone. But if you made a decision to be there for the moment, I do it. And then see what comes the next day is another day. I mean, you don't have to be there, but you need to do what you commit to do. And so many people say, oh, I want to be a motivational speaker, whatever that means. I can't even figure out what's meant by that.
Me neither. I have no idea what that means, but there you go.
But people say that, and then, oh, I don't want to speak with that person. Well, who in the world cares? You made that decision to do it. You're supposed to be there. You do it. Tomorrow, you don't need to be there. Or after the show, after you've done your part, you don't need to be there. But when you are there, give it all you got. And that's what I have been taught all my life. Do what you got. And once you do what you got, you've done it. Okay, guys.
Absolutely, I agree with you, Carla. And this was reminding me of another thing that, accepting things as they are and being humble. I had read somewhere just some quote by someone where it is said that let me be strong like the tree and humble like a blade of grass. Then you fit into things. And then that's the meaning of being in the flow of things. There will be moments where one will feel distraught. Things are not moving the way I want, because I want to be in control. As a human being, I want to control things, but it doesn't happen all the way. So one should have that humility, that humbleness to accept things the way they are. And it makes things easy, not just for oneself, as well as for the world around us. And I think that is so much needed in today's times. So I was thinking about this as you spoke.
And that's what's so important. Yes, go, Neville.
Well, just saying, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's about realizing what you can control and accepting what you can't control. So for instance, we've had a very big election in the UK over the last, I don't know how long, but it was far too long. But the last, let's say 7 weeks, we're not electing a new prime minister. The party in power is changing their leader. So they've ousted the previous leader, Bojo, as you may have heard, Boris Johnson. And what they're now doing, or they've done, is they're electing a new leader. And because they're the predominant party in the UK, they have a majority in the House of Parliament, that new leader automatically becomes the Prime Minister. Now, there were 2 candidates. My background is I'm a mathematician, I'm an economist, and I'm an accountant. Probably 3 things you should never do together. And my view was Rishi Sunak, who was the previous Chancellor of the Exchequer, had the better policies of the 2 candidates. He lost. So I can't change that result. It's impossible. You know, it's not just improbable, it is impossible. Most things aren't impossible, but this particular thing is impossible. So you've got to accept that you can't control that. Now go with the flow. Listen to what this new Prime Minister is saying and get behind her, because it's another woman. We again have elected the 3rd woman Prime Minister in the history of the world. I don't remember if America has ever had a woman president. I do remember, and I know you're shaking your head. No, not a chance, not a cat in hell. And other countries around the world have, but it's almost unheard of now that we've got the 3rd woman prime minister, which is fantastic. But as I say, we now go with the flow. We get behind what the difficult situation that we're facing here, and I'm sure you're facing it where you are. You're seeing oil prices rise, gas prices rise, energy prices rise, inflation running at a fairly high rate, thanks to a war that shouldn't be a war, lack of commodities around the world, lack of resources, because, again, 2 countries have been taken out of the equation. We are a global world at the end of the day. We rely upon services and goods from different countries. And when you take 2 big countries out of the equation, the likes of fertilizer, wheat, is suddenly gone. So the world is now down to a limited resource of something which is in high demand. So guess what? The price goes up because everyone's chasing a smaller resource. So again, we can't do anything about that. That's global economics. But I see people moaning and groaning all the time about, that's down to Putin. Oh, that's down to, the Russians doing this. And, it's because Biden isn't getting his act together. Oh, it's because the UN aren't doing their job. My point is, you can't affect them. You can only do what you can do. So control yourself and do your best, and let things you can't control be done by somebody else. And imagine what sort of a world we would live in if that actually happened. But not in my lifetime.
Well, I'm not sure, Neville. We don't know that it won't.
Should we flip a coin? It's a 50-50 chance.
But that's what it is. But
Yep.
if we open the minds of people to these thoughts, maybe one person at each show will think a little differently.
Oh, well, that's the whole point of your show, Carla, is
Right.
to help people think and open their mind and stop stop sticking in yesterday's news. Question themselves, question other people. Don't believe in the status quo. If you don't like something, get out there and do something about it.
And you can only do your part, but as long as you're doing your part, the world's going to move forward. And going with the flow, I've said this many times recently. I've been listening to a lot of Esther Hicks and Abraham. And what I'm finding is that I can make anything I want happen just by how I think. Last week, it was really funny. I thought, okay, I'm going to try this because I really want my passport before September 9th. So I decided I'm going to have my passport and it will be approved by Friday. And I will be able to go online and see that it's approved and it's coming to me. And on every day I checked it, and on Thursday I'm wondering, is it going to happen? Guess what happened on Friday? It's been approved and it's supposed to arrive tomorrow. I'm not so sure that I made that a public statement, but I did now, so I'm stuck with it. But it can happen. It was my thinking. I really didn't expect my passport for another week for them to approve it, but they did it. I'm watching my life go by, and as it's going by, I'm thinking, oh, I want this to happen. And I see things beginning to happen. But it's when I decided not to resist the flow or resist that thought of it happening and thinking, oh, it can't happen. I changed it to, well, I still have another day. It can happen. And I needed to think in those terms. Now, when my passport was taken, I was heartbroken. But I realize now that having it taken and having it done now was not only a leap of faith on my part, but it helped me learn that going with the flow and not resisting with thoughts, oh, it won't happen, things can happen. Shivali, you're smiling. Thank goodness.
I'm smiling because a lot of things again come to my mind when you said about this passport. It's your own mind which has created this new reality. Rather than fighting the situation, you see, it happens. As I earlier said, we are human. So we are not, the perfect beings, right? There will be moments when we are disturbed by little things. But we have to realize one thing, that we cannot control everything, as Neville has pointed out a bit earlier.
Right.
So the point comes of acceptance. First, we need to accept also. With time, we accept things. And now what happens? Determination is also needed. So when your mind decided to accept things, that okay, it also took action. You did have to go around to the passport office and get the documentation done, or whatever was the process. You took action, and yes, and probably, I don't know how you managed it. You said, okay, now let me go with the flow. Now I leave it to the universe. I leave it to what is meant to be. It'll happen. But you took the action for it. It's not that you just said, that magic wand didn't turn on its own. You had to hold it in your hand, and it's your own mind which has created this new reality. So congratulations. This is again about going with the flow. You can go with the flow when you allow it. That is why we have that phrase of let go. And let go means let God take over. This is, we need to understand this. Let go means let God take over. If you don't believe in God, okay, let the universe take over. So that is called going with the flow, because there's something happening on a very different dimension. And that reality, that perception we don't have as human beings. So when we are looking at a situation, we are perceiving it through our individual senses. Each one's perception is also different. But the moment you accept things, first you have to be the observer, then you accept things. Of course, you take action, and then you let go. Things flow on their own because things have to flow. As they say, winter turns to spring. That's the law of nature.
Right. And the laws of nature are going to happen regardless. It just happens. Look, I wanted Neville here today. I didn't even ask him this time because I knew what the answer would be. Well, look, he showed up.
And I've seen him in one or two of your programs, I think of one. I said, I would like to see him on this show. And you see, he is here today. And I was quite surprised when he appeared. I said, Neville of all the people, because I think he has come once earlier on your show. And I had missed out on that. I said, I should have been there on that panel. So
actually, Neville has been a regular person. When I first met Neville, I was totally scared of him. I didn't know why Rehan wanted me to talk to this guy. And this guy said, I'm not going to talk to you in Messenger. You better, what's up? And I'm like, what are you talking about, buddy? You're a pain in the neck. And but it happened.
Here we are. So here we are, I said.
And here we are. And the funny thing is, we're talking about the longest journey people have to go on, but it's the shortest distance. And the reason I say that is the journey that people go on to go with the flow or go against it or ignore the obstacles or get on with it. And as you said, Shivali, it's about taking action. Fundamentally, it's about doing something. This journey can be light years for some people. And yet, for everybody, it's less than 5 inches. And the reason why it's less than 5 inches is that our brain is in our head and between our ears is about 5 inches. And it's how we think. So we can think as a can't do, it's never going to happen. What's the point in trying? I tried it before, it didn't work then, it's not going to work now. To a can-do person, which is, by the way, all you do is take off the apostrophe T. So can't is a longer word than can. And we're very lazy people. Human beings are incredibly lazy. So let's just stick to a short word, can. And if you think you can, you'll get on with it. But it's still the same 5 inches. It's the shortest distance you will ever travel, but it's the longest distance that people will take. And they'll just go round and round and round saying, I can't do this, I can't do that. They tried it over here. I won't do this and I'm not going to do that because it's not going to work. And you talk yourself into a negative arena. And how many people do it? Here's a question for you. How many people in the world have fundamentally purely negative thoughts? What do you think? What percentage do you think people in the world have predominantly negative thoughts?
I think most people think they cannot do something. People come to the English show, and almost every day at the English show, at least 2 to 3 people say, I cannot speak English. I have never been able to speak English, and I will not speak English. And I look at them and I say, wait a minute. You said all of that in English, and in perfect English.
Exactly.
But I cannot speak fluent English. You just said you are speaking fluent English. Are you serious? Yes, I am serious. I listened to you. But, they had already decided before they came that they cannot do it. There are people who watch and they write comments in the chat. And I finally began saying, I will not answer those comments. Come and talk to me. Because that's what this show is about. But I'm afraid I cannot speak English. And you're writing English and you're writing it well. You can speak English. What I learned when Rehan put me in this position and how much I have enjoyed it, I could never tell you, because it went beyond words. It went beyond the word from cannot to can. I can do this. And I can do it well. Instead of when I first began, how am I going to teach people English? And I can't do this well, but I'll give it a try. Look at what has happened. MindPlore has happened. All these silly interviews. They're not silly, I'm being facetious. But all of these things that I'm doing are things I never thought I could do. And yet, when I was very young, I thought, wouldn't it be nice to be a host of a show? Wouldn't it be very nice to interview people around the world? I realized this after I had been doing it for a while. It's amazing.
Well,
the show isn't supposed to be about me, but I'm making it about me.
No. I mean, it's important to let these things out, because it's part of our rich tapestry, and it's part of who we are. And I remember at 18 when I was asked to go on the stage and stand in for someone who hadn't turned up that evening. They just happened to be ill. I was petrified. I knew what to do, but I'd never done it. It was done for charity, so anything goes. And I just threw myself into it. I'd never done anything like it before. And do you know what? I had a lot of fun. It was hilarious. I got all the words wrong. Well, I didn't get all the words wrong. I got all the words right, but they weren't necessarily in the right order. So hence it was wrong. So but it was hilarious. People were laughing, people were joking. I was introduced as a stand-in because the person was ill. So everyone knew that, I wasn't this performer that was going to come on the stage and do what someone else has done. But, I got a flavour for it. And I suppose, and the interesting thing is, prior to that, I had done a lot of public speaking, but it was only in an arena where I was well practiced. I knew my subject inside out. And I would literally practice, just saying it time and time and time again. So in front of the school, 600 boys, a lot of people would find that daunting. When I first thought about it, I found it daunting. But because I practiced, I got up there and I just did my thing. And in fact, when I compiled the Everything You Should Have Learned at School book, I actually put that example in the book. I think I was about 14 years old, and I had to stand up in front of not only the whole school, but it was Founders Day. So all the parents were there, all of the founders were there, all the teachers were there, all of my school friends and colleagues were there. all of the governors were there, the local dignitaries were there, you know, the chainmail group, and I had to stand up and do my thing. But I did it because I practiced it. Now, I'd never done it before. And this is it, you know. If you're going to throw yourself into it, be committed. We're going to go back to this, 100% committed. The irony about it all was I was scared for 2 weeks when I was asked to do this, because I thought I would have to recite it off the top of my head. And then I was told, no, it's on a sheet of A4, and all you got to do is, you know, say it. So it was like something like 150 words, and it was all written down in front of me. But the interesting thing is, I was so well rehearsed, I didn't refer to the words in front of me once. And that's what happens, you know, when you believe you can, and that's another thing, it's a belief. So if you think you can't, it's not a thought process, it's a belief. And beliefs are far deeper than thoughts, because thoughts challenge your beliefs. But if your belief is so deep-rooted that says, I can't do this, guess what? You're right, you can't, because you don't believe you can. So this goes even deeper. You know, as we normally get to on a Thursday, we go quite deep. But we need to go and recognize this isn't just a thought process. This is entrenched in our beliefs. And where do our beliefs come from? Our experiences. So how do we change our beliefs? Change your experiences. And it's as simple as that. And frankly, at 63, I actually wonder why people don't understand it. But maybe they will.
Yes, Neville, I can easily connect to this because, you know, a little while ago you said something about, you know, that we human beings are lazy. So that, you know, we try to avoid things sometimes. We don't want to take action, and we feed our minds with fear because it's very easy to, you know, find excuses, which we do. And what I could relate to very easily was I still remember, like today I speak on the public forum, you know, I'm a very active person, but I still remember the second year of my college. I was one of the most timid persons, you know, stage fright. I had complete stage fright. I could never imagine that one day, you know, I'll be speaking with such confidence. And for this, I owe a lot to one of my lecturers, you know, my professor at the college. And the college was celebrating that time. Today, my college is around 200 years old, founded by the Irish nuns. So we were celebrating 75 years, and we had all foreign dignitaries and everything. And she chose me, and she says, "You are going to be acting in one of the plays." I said, "No way. I've never spoken on stage. And here is my teacher telling me that you are going to be on a public platform with so many international people out there." And she says, "You are going to do it, and you will do it. You dare not disobey me." So when my teacher had so much of trust in me, I said, "Okay, let me do it." She was strict with me. So you need sometimes, you know, that
Yeah, you
firmness also
do.
to be
You
guided.
absolutely do. You need someone that's going to push you out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely. And that first show and the second show I did, and believe me, that show and today, what a difference it has made in my life. Because I fought with that fear. Fear becomes a kind of a laziness also sometimes. You know, it's very easy to be in the comfort zone. It's
Yep.
coming out of that comfort zone and striving ahead with something. And then gradually, you see, you start going with the flow. Then one thing connects with another, and the
Absolutely.
confidence starts building.
Yeah.
So this is
And
something
and
I have learned from my own life. Yes, yes, Neville. Yes.
and as Carla knows, I rarely talk about comfort zone and out of the box, because my view is, what comfort zone? It's your creation. And what box? Because that's your creation too.
Absolutely.
But I saw
It's how my
as
mind works.
you were relating to your story, we all saw a smile from ear to ear, you know. So that's another 5 inches that's happening, because that smile was going from ear to ear and then through your brain as you were talking and coming out the other side. So the smile was just literally through your head, and we could see it, and it meant something because it was personal. And even if we've all got teachers that push us, you know, I was lucky to have some teachers that really pushed me. I was, you know, unlucky to have teachers who couldn't give a damn either, but some really good teachers. Today, I suppose we would call them mentors, really, because they're not just teachers. You know, teachers tell you where to look, but not what to see. And in some respects, that's what a coach does and a mentor does as well. But it's just about just pushing people, giving them that little bit of confidence to say, yeah, you can. You bet you've never been there before. How do you know? It's a bit like, you know, I've got two grandsons now. They're 3 months apart. One's 10 months old and one's 7 months old. And they're just experimenting with food, you know, so they've got the baby milk and they're just experimenting with food. And you see it on their face. Both of them were given raspberries. And raspberries are pretty tart, you know. I mean, they're not sweet, but both of them grabbed the raspberry and stuffed it in their mouth, and you could see it go, oh, blimey, you know, that's an experience. But they both loved it, different times. They both loved it and thought, oh, I want another one of those. And the same thing happens, you know. They put it in their mouth and went, but, you know, took the experience on and on. So this is where, you know, babies push the boundaries all the time. You know, if they want to get up and walk, they'll get up and walk. You can't stop them. And we encourage people we encourage babies to walk, to talk. You know, we even go into stupid baby language, as I've been for about an hour this afternoon when I saw one of my grandchildren. And, you know, every little phrase you say, you know, they're picking it up all the time. And this is about, you know, and I've said this to Carla on many, many occasions, you know, we've just lost the art of being a baby, where everything is the unknown, but we're fearless. And if we were to do that now, at whatever age you are, whether it's 14, 24, 34, or my age, 63, nearly 64, if you were fearless and say, it might go right, it might go wrong, but until I go down that route, how the hell do I know? And this is, in some respects, it's fun. Because the unknown is fun. I mean, someone said to me a few weeks ago, they're saying, they're going to put people on the moon. I said, I'd love to go and live on the moon. And they're a little bit younger than me. And they said, are you nuts? And I said, well, why wouldn't I want to go live on the moon? You know, I can't come home for a weekend, but it's only going to take me 5 days, you know, which is less than a camel trip over the Gobi Desert. I mean, come on, guys, you know. Why wouldn't you want to go and live on the moon? Now, Mars might be a different, that's months away. That might be a different issue. And the thing is, they would never accept me to go live on the moon because my health wouldn't probably be up to the pressures of what they want from scientists. But I just sat back and I thought, why would this, and I think he's 55, you know, why would this 55-year-old who's in a high-powered job, why would he say, no, I don't want to do that? Because it's new frontiers. It's the old Star Trek, to boldly go where no one's gone before. And that fascinates me. I mean, I suppose that's the baby in me, really. I mean, I've never grown up. I've just got an older brain. So, but I just think if everyone were to remember when they were a baby and what they achieved when they were so young without a great deal of knowledge. They couldn't express themselves. But, you know, oh, that looks like an interesting thing. Oh, what's that? It's a chair. Oh, what the hell's a chair? I can't spell it. I'm going to go after it anyway. And I think we've lost that art of going with our own flow, I suppose, coming back to the concept of today's show. Because going with the flow as a baby was explore everything. Never say I can't. Be fearless. Get out there. Do it. Take action. And if it hurts, well, learn from it and get on with it again. You know, you got to remember, none of us walked perfectly the first time we ever walked. You know, I can't remember that far back, but I know I banged my head on the floor a few times. And as I started to walk, everything else started to move up, you know, so that I couldn't get my hands on it, as what happens in every household. But if we could only go back to those days, you know, we all need to, you know, maybe we all need to put a diaper on and feel like what it was to walk in diapers or something. I don't know. That'd be a bit bizarre, but who knows? Carla, you're pensively thinking.
You're right. And I'm thinking about how many times I would go to do something and my mom was scared that I couldn't do it or I wasn't ready. And I was told, you can't do that. You're too young. Or you can't do that. You're going to get hurt. We hear it so many times that we stop from doing what we want to do. We stop from being who we are because you can't do it. I'm one of those weird ones. When I first began driving, the first day I was in an accident and it was my fault. And I knew it. And it was just because I wasn't used to making left-hand turns and I made a left-hand turn a little too far to my left. But the point is, my mom came back. I told you you shouldn't drive today. Well, you also told me I could. But it put a fear in me from hearing that. And it's those fears that keep us from doing what we want to do. If we could only shut up the people around us who say, you cannot, who use that word not, and just allow ourselves to make the mistakes, how far could we really go? We really could go
a long way.
Far.
Yeah. So just control the 5 inches and you can go as far as you like.
Right.
Simple, really.
And it doesn't matter if Shivali or you agree with me. It only matters that we're doing what we feel we should be doing.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm doing things now that I can hear some people saying, Carla, you shouldn't be doing that. I've cut off a lot of those people from my life. And it makes it a very different life, but it makes it a life now because people are not saying you should not do that. I remember when I first met Rehan, people found out, oh, he's from Pakistan. Don't talk to him. He's a Muslim. He's a terrorist. I was like, are you crazy? You know? And I had them checked. I made these people check them out just to actually for me to know. And everyone came back and said, no, there's nothing wrong with them. But if I had listened, where would I be now?
Yep.
Probably just patting the cats and the dog, and well, there's no dog anymore. But I wouldn't be moving forward. Shivali,
Yes, it's about perceptions, we have certain perceptions. And what Neville was pointing out a bit earlier about children, like how in our childhood we were absolutely full of courage. We wanted to explore. We were curious by nature. What is happening in today's world that everything is being offered on a platter. You
Yep.
see, everything is there. The social media, one of the, what should I say, the disadvantage is that everything is being offered to the child. So, the curiosity is lessening as a result. It's there. The child doesn't feel the need to explore. So why just a child? We as adults also. At times I feel, things I just, and so whatever is being offered to me, my reality is that it's limited. My perceptions are limited. Why? Because I'm just relying on what I can see or understand. But there's something which lies beyond. So that is why it requires a lot of courage actually to move forward. That requires a lot of courage because the moment, as Neville said, that you change your experience, have a new experience, you create a new reality for yourself, and that's how you go into so-called flow of things, accepting and moving on. And certain things we can't control, and in spite of that, like the river which flows, as I said, the boulders will come. The river knows how to skirt its way around those boulders and it moves on. So that's how human life should be, and that's how our human mind should actually naturally operate, like the way it was in the earlier times.
Well said. I totally agree with you. But Carla, I'm going to have to go because I've got to go with the flow. And I've got to make dinner.
Okay, can we close the show with you though?
Yeah.
Okay, I really want to thank Neville for coming and surprising us, and also the person who didn't come, because it made me grow and just go with the flow and see what happens. We'll be talking about this again with Kamran and Jeff, hopefully on Thursday. And we'd love to have you back, Neville and Shivali.
I'm not sure it's going to be possible, but if I can, I will.
Well, please let me know. And Shivali, you're more than welcome to come back. And
I'll definitely confirm in advance.
But don't tell me 2 minutes before the show you can't come.
No, not at all.
Make it 3 minutes. But anyway, going with the flow, it is time to wave goodbye. So we will be back on Thursday. People, if you find this interesting, consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, Gigglefest University. I could use more followers. I want to get to 1,000 by the end of next week. Hey, join us. With that, let's wave goodbye.
Thank you, Neville.
Bye.
Thank you, Carla.
Great to see you,
Bye-bye.
Shivali.